So many of us grew up without the opportunity to become the person that we want to be. Whether our homes were filled with trauma or addictions or those who raised us just were missing the essential executive function skills so they couldn't pass them on to us. We didn't get them. And so it goes. Generation after generation of kids are growing up with underdeveloped executive function skills, the very life skills that are necessary for successful adulting. Some of you believe that it's too late for you to develop these skills or that it's going to take too long. The fact is, it's never too late. And in our 7-month journey together, you will make significant changes from the inside out that will change your life. To me, this is a relatively short period of time, considering the lifetime many of us have spent without these skills and the difference that having them makes.
Welcome to the Living Beyond ADHD podcast. If you're looking for a fresh perspective and actionable steps on hot topics from focus to follow-through to self-management and more, you are in the right place. Welcome your host, innovative educator, coach, and psychotherapist, Dr. B.
Developing your executive function skills goes way beyond just those skills. What you're also developing is a new you and letting go of version 1.0. You can't possibly stay the same and assert these new skills into the old version or version 1.0 of you. You will continually say things like, "That's not me," or "I don't do things that way," and that defeats your personal growth. As Jim Rohn says, for things to change, you have to change. So you can upgrade yourself to version 2.0. You'll take the best of what's contained in version 1.0, transfer it over to 2.0, and then add in the development of these executive function skills. It's a really exciting journey because you get to discover so many wonderful things about yourself along the way, some very humbling, and others truly a delight. In recovery circles, you're told it's an inside job, and this journey is no different. You are recovering from a seemingly hopeless state of mind and body because your life is not playing out as it could with the well-developed executive function skills that are so essential for your success. So, I thought I would talk about what life is like with well-developed executive function skills to give you a sense of what you're in store for. I say that because if you're like a fish in water and you only know the dysfunction and limitations that you've lived with your entire life, then it's hard to imagine what life is like outside the fishbowl. Something else you'll start to experience outside the fishbowl is the healing of your codependency. Having a loving, healthy relationship with yourself becomes easier, and it is the most important relationship in your life. It's the basis for all of your other relationships. So, what does this have to do with living with well-developed executive function skills? A lot. I see so many of my students with their limiting beliefs and frozen identity that hold them prisoner, and they're transforming these limitations and they're breaking free. Those I speak to that decide to not become a student are serving a life sentence of misery by continuing to believe that change is not possible for them. That if it was as easy as developing executive function skills to have a better quality of life, and if that was the answer, then everyone would do it and be living that better life. I never said it was easy. I say the solution is simple. Develop the essential executive function skills. The journey can often be challenging because of the resistance that some have to believing that it is possible to transform their life so completely. Or fear sets in and attempts to hold people in place so they can't transform their life. Most fears are false evidence appearing real. They're illusions that we have created due to the inaccuracy of our perceptions, and those dissolve over time. I love hearing about the resistance and the lack of believing. Why? Because that was me years ago in recovery. It was my amazing sponsor who told me that it was a program of action and that I was to work the steps the way the steps were intended to be worked, and the results would speak for themselves. Well, that's pretty much how it went for me. When I look at the comparison between my recovery journey and the journey that you all could go on, a 7-month journey in the Adventures in Achievement Foundation Skills Program, there are definitely similarities. There are steps, guidelines, and a structure. The 5 pillars are the structure for you to learn the 13 executive function skills. The 3 master classes are the pre-skills that I feel are essential for you to learn first before you embark on the 5-pillar journey. And instead of a sponsor, you have me as your trainer, coach, and guide for your success. The master classes used to just be bonuses in the program, and people got to them as they did. When I saw that most people weren't getting to them, and I know that they're really important, I redesigned the program to be a 7 instead of a 6-month program and put 4 weeks of masterclass training up front to make sure that students would do this training first, because it was the only training available for those 4 weeks for them to hyper-focus on. And then they could continue to work with these pre-skills during the next 6 months as desired. Another advantage of positioning the master classes up front is that I get to go into the master class forums and see what students are struggling with in real time. In those master class forums, I see what students are posting and how they're working with the methodology. I get to see the struggle firsthand, the stuckness, and the confusion in thinking. I get to see and learn so much about my students in the first month of training, in addition to their background information and executive function assessment results. By working on these master classes individually within the group, there's a felt sense of community which keeps students going. By seeing what others are posting, you discover that you're not alone in your challenges, as well as you gain additional insights about yourself. Speaking of community, if you aren't yet a member of my Facebook group, Living Beyond ADHD, I highly recommend that you get over there and ask to join. When you do, be sure that you answer the few questions that are asked, including the question about group rules, so that you can be approved into the group promptly. We have rules so that the group is a safe space, free of judgment, and a place where you can show up and interact with like-minded adults. You can laugh a little, learn a little, and most of all, be connected to a positive energy community. I go live in that group every 2 weeks, and I answer questions that are posed by group members. So if you have questions about adult ADHD, executive function skills, how to navigate your adult life, and so much more, be sure to post your questions on the Q&A post every 2 weeks. You'll learn a lot that way. And if you want to start developing your executive function skills beyond the group support, because it's group support, it's not a training group, I have lots of resources available on my website, including the opportunity for you to join the May Adventures in Achievement Foundational Skills Program group. Enrollment is open now and closes on May 25th at 10 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. The links are in the transcript of this episode and the show notes. So, join the Facebook group for community and fun engagement, and visit my website to get details about developing your executive function skills in this final enrollment for 2021. You will not want to miss either opportunity. For those of you who have been longtime listeners, you know that I'm big on wins and their importance in your life. There's another important aspect to focusing on wins, and that is that you're training your mind to stay focused on what's right and celebrate it big time. Which doesn't mean that you don't stay aware of what isn't right and what needs your attention. However, by focusing on your wins and celebrating all of them, you energize yourself so that tackling what needs your attention can be easier in the long run. So, if you want to energize yourself every day, start your day off by celebrating your wins. You don't always have control over the events or the experiences in life. However, we do have control over the meaning that we give to them. You know from listening to other episodes that what you focus on grows, and that it's important to stand guard at the doorway to your mind and not let in things that don't serve you. Criticism, judgment, belittling, and such don't serve you at all. They don't motivate you, and they'll only do harm to your sense of self. So let them go. Focus on your wins instead. That way you'll continue to attract more and more wins into your life, all leading you to the state of mind and life that you want. You are a precious child of God and of the universe, and you are called a human being, not a human doing, for good reason. You do not have to earn your value. You were born with it. Your value comes from who you are, not what you do. And if you need a place to know that's true, be sure to join the Facebook group Living Beyond ADHD so that you can be with others who will celebrate your wins with you and affirm that you are more than okay as you, the human being. So what's it going to be for you today? If you decided to join us in the May Adventures in Achievement program group, that's awesome. What a gift to yourself. If you posted a review in the Living Beyond ADHD Facebook group, that's truly appreciated, and I thank you. And if you decided to start cultivating a more loving relationship with yourself, that's huge. You get the point. Celebrate all of them, and none of this half-hearted celebrating. You've got to mean it. You've got to exaggerate your emotions. Yes, wow, awesome. Be sure to celebrate your wins, big and small, because celebrating daily builds consistency and makes a faster difference in your life. How much time do we have? Not much. So let's get to it.
This podcast is sponsored by Pure Potential with Dr. B. You can head over to drbarbaracohen.com and find the podcast episodes and transcripts. Great free content, plus information on programs and products, including the groundbreaking online Adventures in Achievement Foundational Skills Training and Coaching Program. You can also learn about Dr. B's masterclasses on decision-making, time management, and banishing procrastination. That's drbarbaracohen.com.
So back to the topic of what's life like with executive function skills. I thought that I had developed mine sufficiently in the beginning because I was doing okay. I got an education. I got a ton of degrees, an AA, a BA, an MA, and a PhD, and I somehow managed to write a dissertation, a thesis, and do all the things required to pursue licensure as a mental health professional. Everything I needed to do to secure my license some 30 years ago. I was a researcher for 5 years in 2 international studies. I guess I've accomplished a lot of things in my life up to my early 50s. But wait a minute. What was really going on behind the scenes that made it possible for me to accomplish the things that I accomplished in those first 50 or so years? A burnout waiting to happen. Properly developing executive function skills is very different. Let me paint you that picture. Decision making. How did you first learn to make decisions? Did someone teach you? What my dad offered me as a kid was the good old Ben Franklin method of taking a piece of paper, drawing a line down the middle, putting the pros on one side, the cons on the other side, and then making a decision based on what's on the sheet of paper. Seriously? That never made any sense to me, and I couldn't understand it for the life of me. How could someone make a decision from that limited amount of information because there was so much that wasn't being considered on that sheet of paper? And it was years later that I started to look at making decisions differently. I make bulk decisions, which means I make decisions in groups so that I'm not making decision after decision all day long and ending up with what's called decision fatigue, which is a real thing because you're making so many decisions every day that you're exhausted. And then the decisions that you make when you're in that state, they're not very good decisions. So I came up with a methodology of 7 steps of what you need to do and what needs to be included in order to make a good decision and know it's a good decision. I love this methodology. Do you have a method for making decisions and knowing they're good decisions before you even act on them? I hope so. And if not, then this would be a very important skill for you to learn. Time management. How well are you managing yourself in time and managing the amount of time that you have so that you get the most important things done every day and celebrate your wins? I used to be constantly late, 10 minutes late, consistently. And it's the consistently that was really important in solving this challenge. I was consistently late because I was losing 10 minutes whenever I left the house. Going meta, I discovered where the 10 minutes were going and adjusted things so that I was consistently on time or even early. I needed to make time physical for myself, not just a concept, not tricks with a clock. I needed to physically put myself in places at certain times rather than just thinking about time as an abstract concept. And it worked. Plus, I learned to work with the amount of time I really had, not the distance from where I was to the deadline. In other words, I didn't have 10 days to get something done. I had 2 hours a day for the next 10 days to get something done, or 20 hours. And was 20 hours enough time to get the task done? Sometimes yes, sometimes no. How do you think about time and whether you're over budget with time before you even start? Procrastination. Lots of you procrastinate. I know this from what I see posted in my Facebook group, as well as people I talk to. Procrastination is a huge problem. But it isn't procrastination that's the problem. Procrastination is a symptom of many other problems. And unless we dig down and we understand what the issues really are and not just look at a symptom, then we're never really going to solve it. I like to solve things. I don't like to keep having the same lessons and experiences over and over again. So, life without procrastination means that my schedule is planned, time is allotted appropriately, and I get busy doing what my calendar tells me to do when it tells me to do it. I don't procrastinate because that behavior doesn't exist anymore. There's no reason to procrastinate. I do the things that I want to do, and if these are things that I need to do, then I shift my feelings so my state is what it needs to be for the task to be fun if it isn't. Because what's the point in doing things if we don't make them fun? I like to make everything fun and enjoy myself. So that's what life looks like before and after these 3 pre-skills. Let me share a little bit about life with the 13 executive function foundational skills. It's like putting together building blocks in just the right shape for your life. Metacognition. The way I teach this is about perception, perspective, an accurate perception of your life events. No one I've worked with has ever had a metacognitive score that was appropriately developed. That means that the information they were using to make decisions in their life wasn't accurate. It was skewed. This is an essential skill. Definitely the first one I taught myself and practiced so I could develop an accurate perspective on my life. We need accurate information to make good decisions and to be considering the right opportunities that present themselves. The more developed my metacognition becomes, the more I can see about life in general and situations specifically. I'm able to take my observations and plug them into the decision-making methodology, make good decisions, and avoid most disastrous ones. I don't feel like I'm second-guessing myself, and I'm not filled with self-doubt about what I see, what I think, and what I choose to do. This leads to a more peaceful life, certainly one with much less stress, and the feelings of overwhelm aren't part of my daily life like they used to be. I'm seeing molehills, not mountains, when I look at what's in front of me to do, and I'm able to cut through the complexity that my mind used to create when simplicity is what's truly happening. Inhibiting is the ability to pause and reflect rather than being reactive. And without a well-developed metacognition, even if you get yourself to pause and reflect, you may not be reflecting on what's truly happening. The biggest difference I notice with this executive function skill developed is the absence of negative self-talk. Being able to pause, reflect, and determine what is appropriate to say to myself most of the time is such a blessing. It also integrates nicely with having a loving relationship with myself. Definitely an executive function skill that you can all benefit from. Shifting is an interesting skill because we shift all day long. Sometimes we resist shifting and other times we shift too often. It's a skill that most have, and yet it's been problematic for many due to emotional reasons. It's great to have developed emotional control so that emotions no longer block me from shifting when it's time to do so. I used to be a rapid shifter, moving from thing to thing to thing and finishing nothing. Not anymore. I can stay put and move through what needs doing, even when it's a bit difficult. Plus, transitioning to sleep time is relatively easy now. Emotional control is a great skill to have developed so that meltdowns and overwhelm are a thing of the past, and hours of the day aren't lost to settling in to the work that needs doing because of emotions. Having developed both shifting and emotional control gives me back so much of my day. I'm no longer hijacked by emotions nor losing precious time because I'm unable to shift out of them. Emotions are energy in motion, and it's just moving through, delivering messages to me, nothing to get hooked on or attached to. That brings so much freedom. Self-awareness is a relationship skill, and it's helped me improve my relationships with others dramatically. By understanding how to go meta, I'm able to see myself accurately and adjust my interactions with others. Occasionally, my mind can't give me the information I need to be my best self relationally. And it's really humbling when this happens, and it inspires me to stretch more and grow. Initiating is the getting started challenge that so many have. Not just getting going, but staying with the task until you've finished without violating your values. You'll learn the importance of separating your prep from your task so that when it's time to start, you start and you keep going. What a difference it makes. I have tasks planned, scheduled, and lined up for doing. And if I want to swap out tasks on a particular day, I can because I see the bigger picture and everything still fits into the week and gets done. Working memory is a critically important executive function skill if we expect to remember so much of the information that comes at us every day. This is an integration skill, and it's about so much more than just your memory. You need to be integrating information, strategy, skills, ideas, processes, and more every day. And if you can't, so much is going to slip through the cracks of your life. It amazes me just how much I remember and understand the deeper meaning of information now that it's integrated instead of being held as individual pieces. Planning is something that many people love to do. It's the implementing that they lack. They are the thinkers, not the doers. Lots of ideas and very little action taken. Understanding where planning fits in the flow of adult life is an essential skill, as is prioritizing and scheduling appropriately. My plans translate to a schedule on my calendar, and I follow through to achieve my outcomes. Instead of flying by the seat of my pants, I have plans and sequences for what I want to experience and achieve in my life, and they're unfolding and being achieved one by one. Organizing your thinking is essential to making sense to yourself as well as to others when you communicate. How can you make effective decisions or prioritize or plan or do much of anything if your thinking isn't organized? It used to feel impossible to organize and sequence my thinking so that it made sense. And with practice and appropriate strategies to develop this skill, I'm able to put together thoughts so they make sense. It takes a little longer at times, yet I know that I have the skill and I make my way through into the flow of my thoughts for myself and for others. Task monitoring sounds so simple, and yet when I didn't know what I was supposed to be monitoring and what to do when I saw those cues, many things went sideways. Now I'm able to be a detail-oriented and process-oriented person when needed and transition out of that mode when I'm done. That's because I've developed other skills like shifting and emotional control, initiating, working memory, planning, and more. Organizing material things is tough when your thinking is disorganized. Some people have the ability to organize stuff even though they're challenged with organizing their own thoughts. Perhaps they're modeling systems they're familiar with. The organizational system I created for myself allows me to give everything a home, know where everything lives, so that everything can be found easily, and go home at the end of the day. Curfew. Such a natural way of living. Maintaining is one of my favorite skills because everything requires maintenance. We invest our time, effort, and energy to maintain everything in our lives. Before I bring anything new into my life, I consider the maintenance it's going to require of me. If I'm willing to invest that, I bring it into my life, and if not, then I won't. It's important to me to keep maintenance to a minimum and my lifestyle more minimal so that I have plenty of time for me to just be, to think, to consider, to ponder, reflect, and time to be with myself. So there you have a snapshot of how I live now with well-developed executive function skills, and you can too. All of these are skills that you can develop more fully so that your life is one of ease, not misery. There are any number of reasons why your executive function skills are underdeveloped, and the why isn't important. What's important is what you're going to do about your executive function skills and how you're going to go about doing it now that you know that you can develop them. So many adults that I get to talk to or connect with haven't known what really has been going on for so much of their life. They haven't understood why they can't do certain things that other people are doing, why it takes them so long, Why this? Why this? Why that? And it leaves a big question mark in the sky, so to speak. We know the why. What's more important is the what and the how, since those are the action steps. Once your executive function skills are sufficiently developed, you can become unstoppable. You know what needs doing, how you're going to do it, and you get it done. If I were to want to compare the me of 30 years ago or even 20 years ago to the me of today, I am so different. And as a result, what's in my life is different. Life isn't overwhelming. It isn't a struggle. Life isn't so complicated, even when there's complex things that need to be addressed. Life isn't as complicated as I used to feel and believe that it was, because I've developed these skills. And you all know, if you've been listeners to my podcast show, that I'm on a mission. I want to start a revolution, and I want to bring heightened awareness to the problem and to the solution most of all. I'm on a mission to serve as many of you as I possibly can, at least 1 million people in my lifetime, to make a positive difference in your life, a positive impact, and to help you transform your life. You have gifts to bring to the world, and you can live a quality of life that maybe you never even imagined was possible for you. Yet it is. Perhaps other experts have convinced you that it isn't possible for you because you're older. You're in your 30s or 40s or 50s or 60s or 70s like me, and it's just not possible. Well, that's a lie. It's possible. It's absolutely possible, and it's happening to people every single day. It's absolutely possible to learn skills, train your mind, train your brain, lay down new neural pathways, improve the quality of your life, and go on to live a very different quality of life than the one you've lived up to now. I see it every day in my students, and I see it in myself. The way I think, the way I act, the way I make decisions, the way I live my life, the people who are in my life, everything is different. And I guess not quite everything is different, because what's the same is the essence of Dr. B. That core essence or golden Buddha essence that I often refer to. This is the essence of each and every one of us. That is still the same. My heart is still the same. What's different is that nothing is interfering with my heart's desire. Nothing is interfering with the desires of my heart to fulfill itself. And for me to live through the essence of who I am and be that person, that's the difference. It was pie in the sky years ago, and it's reality today. Many of my students have felt the same way, and yet that's the reality they're living today. They live their lives with these skills, having replaced the dysfunctional skills of the past. The widespread needless suffering of millions of adults around the world has to stop. And I'm doing what I can do to stop it with this generation, with us. We all need to address our limiting beliefs and our underdeveloped executive function skills if we want to live the life that's possible for us with those changes. We have to be the person who lives the life that we say that we want, not struggle to live the life that we say that we want, in the hopes that we can someday become the person who has that life. What most people do is a backwards approach. We all need empowering beliefs and well-developed executive function skills to thrive as adults in today's world. Because if we can't plan, organize, prioritize, get started, keep going until the end, if we can't regulate states of overwhelm and stop the analysis paralysis so that we can more easily make good decisions and know they're good decisions, it's going to cost us dearly, and it probably has. Please, slow down and become a student of your own life. Understand what you need to succeed with the multifaceted brain that you have. Take action on what you learn about yourself. This is the life work that lies ahead of you, if this is your time. And I'd love to support you in your journey if this is your time for change. You came to this lifetime with amazing gifts, and I would love it if each and every person on this planet was able to express his or her unique gifts freely, without the threat of being shamed or criticized. Please, let's put an end to that stigma once and for all. I'm thrilled and I'm honored to be able to do what I'm doing with my life because it fulfills me to overflowing. And since self-integrity is one of my highest values, I was told that it's my duty to tell everyone that I can that there are real solutions to the everyday challenges that you're experiencing, that it's not too late, no matter your age, because you can always learn new skills. And learning them in a safe, closed community of like-minded adults who are all going after the same changes is a powerful force for change. The last open enrollment for 2021 for the Adventures in Achievement Foundational Skills Program ends on Tuesday, May 25th, 2021 at 10 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. And that's it for this year. The next open enrollment is not until January 2022. So, if you think this could be your time to make changes that you've wanted for years, and you're just wondering about the contents of the program, the time commitment, and the financial investment, I highly recommend that you at least take a look at the information on the enrollment page and fully understand what this opportunity holds for you in the event you decide to embrace it. The link is in the show notes in the transcript. Everything is paced out nicely, so no need to anticipate feeling overwhelmed. You can do this. You can. The question is, will you? And will you now? Even if this isn't your time, give yourself the gift of clicking the link that's in the show notes. Go check out the information, see what's available, what the possibilities are that await you, so you're making an informed decision instead of guessing. And then make a decision. And if you decide it isn't for you or it isn't time for you, I get it. It's not everybody's time, and I'm not for everyone. However, if you like what you see and it is your time, and you want to take this journey with the May group, then act now, so I can get your executive function assessment emailed out to you within the next 48 hours. The assessment takes about 15 minutes online, and you'll receive your results before June 1st when we have our orientation and executive function debriefing. You'll also want to get your 2 pages of typed up get-to-know-you information emailed over to me right after you complete your assessment. You can even start on your writing now, so it's ready to go. A favorite quote of mine is from Jim Rohn, who said, "The only way it gets better for you is when you get better. Better is not something you wish. It's something you become." What this quote says to me is to be mindful of who you're becoming on the way to where it is that you're going, and to take stock every night to make sure that you are better tonight than you were last night. I suggest that you make this a nightly practice for yourself. It's something I do every night. Whether you're learning from my podcast episodes, live videos, or you're working with me directly, you're in my world, and I'm here to serve your needs. So be sure to reach out and get your needs met. It's up to you to take action so that things can change for the better for you. And they can only change for the better for you if you change. Make it a priority to join the Facebook group Living Beyond ADHD so you can have a non-judgmental community to lean into. And check out the Adventures in Achievement Foundation Skills Program information and enrollment page to learn what awaits you, should you decide that this is your time for change. Be sure to check it out right away since enrollment goes away May 25th, 2021 at 10 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. And if you enjoy my show, please share this podcast with others. And I would also be grateful if you'd rate the show and write a positive review in iTunes so I know that I'm meeting your needs. It means a lot to me to know that your life is getting better, at least a little bit better, every single time we get together. Thank you so much for listening to this special episode and allowing me to share what's possible for you. I am not the exception. This opportunity is waiting for your answer, and if it's yes, let's get started transforming your life today. Be sure that you check out the show notes for the many opportunities available to you. Let's put an end to your needless suffering and that of generations to come. I would love to help you realize a new freedom. That is, if that's of interest to you. Thanks for listening. Until the next time, bye for now.
Thanks so much for listening today. If you're eager to make positive changes in your life and stop overwhelm and confusion from derailing you, head over to drbarbaracohen.com and see how Dr. B can help you today. Whether you love learning in an online group environment with personalized coaching or prefer the pace of guided self-study, Dr. B offers the skills, strategies, and individual support you need. Get started on your journey today by visiting the website at drbarbaracohen.com.